Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and joining me today is Barbara Guterman, who is a board member of KEEN and also the KEENFest chair. Thank you so much for being here, Barbara.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I was excited to find out about KEEN, which is an organization I had not previously heard of, although you have been around for decades.
That's right. We're 26 years old, and it does not surprise me that you haven't heard about KEEN. We are unfortunately a well-kept secret, and I'm so glad we're here today to debunk that.
Yeah, so tell us what KEEN stands for. K-E-E-N.
K-E-E-N, KEEN, stands for Kids Enjoy Exercise Now. And the philosophy is that just like you and I, exercise makes our bodies move and feel good and makes our brains move and feel good. And everyone needs an opportunity to play and to exercise. And often kids with disabilities or differing abilities don't get their bodies moving. And so the objective of KEEN is to pair young people with differing abilities with volunteers who help them move and play and develop friendships in all kinds of different ways.
Now, if I recall, this concept was actually brought from the UK back in 1988. And I guess the first chapter was here in the DC area.
The first chapter was here in Montgomery County, and you're absolutely right. It was brought over by a gentleman by the name of Elliot Portnoy, and that was 26 years ago. We celebrated our 25th anniversary last year. And the program started off with 5 young people and 5 volunteers. And the organization has grown to serve over 500 teens and young people every weekend in a variety of programs across the DC, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland area.
So what intrigues me about this program is that it's for children of all abilities as well as differing disabilities, because you've got people who may not be particularly mobile. And you know, we talked about that people can come in a wheelchair. Right. There are different activities that are adapted for the level of mobility children have.
Absolutely. And so if you are a parent and you want to bring your child of any age to KEEN, regardless of their ability or disability, we are there for your child. It doesn't matter if you come in a wheelchair with a breathing tube, we will find a volunteer to match up with your son or daughter to play and to exercise and to do whatever that individual is capable of doing. And so our goal is really to provide respite care for parents who need an hour to go grocery shopping or an hour and a half to be with their other children, and know that their child, regardless of their ability, is in a safe place with people that love them and that can help them encourage friendships and movement and play. And it's really foundational. We have many athletes who have been in our program for over 20 years.
Wow. And
the friendships and bonds that have been formed are really life-changing for not only the athletes, as we call them, the KEEN athletes, but for the individuals whose lives they're impacting as volunteers. And so although we're there as volunteers giving and giving and giving, we're actually getting so much more.
Oh, I can believe that. And because it is primarily run by volunteers, you need an enormous number of people in order to give specialized attention to people who need more specialized attention. I saw from some of the photographs you sent that a lot of your volunteers are also very young.
Our volunteers range from every age you can imagine. Lots of young people like to come volunteer as part of their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah projects. We have high school students who volunteer. We have college basketball teams that volunteer,
wow.
Sororities that volunteer, corporations that we work with who bring their employees to come in to volunteer. And anyone who's benefited from the program themselves often likes to give back and volunteer. So there's no age limit on volunteers.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it has to be rewarding for the young people themselves to be with a community of other young people, like a supervised playground program, but the relationships that form, because social isolation is one of the biggest problems for people with disabilities, feeling like they're isolated from a peer group. And it seems to me, just looking again at the photographs, that you've got this enormous number of people all together in the same place.
Exactly right. And there are, I want to say, 32 programs that run every single weekend across the areas that we talked about, Virginia, DC, Maryland, and Baltimore, and hundreds of volunteers who are out every weekend, and they are creating community. And this week, this hour on Sunday, this hour on Saturday where the kids come, it's what they look forward to all week long. And oftentimes they're paired with the same volunteers and sometimes with new volunteers. And it's really about making connections, Humans need to connect regardless of what you look like, where you come from, what your ability might be. And so that's what we provide, the human connection, one-to-one on a volunteer basis. And interestingly enough, all free of charge to any family who wants to come and bring their child.
That is amazing too, the fact that you have managed to cobble together funding, because this is an enormous program. When you talk about 500 families or children that you serve, you know, it is powered by volunteers, but it still takes infrastructure. It still takes a staff.
Yes.
It still takes people to keep all of these moving parts going. And so over the last several decades, I'm sure, you know, having to hone your ability to keep the revenue coming is, as a board member, one of the things that you deal with pretty much 24/7.
Well, we do, because we are a business. But what I can tell you is that it's a very lean structure that we have at Keen. There are only 3 full-time employees.
Oh, that's amazing.
And there is no office. And people are working from their homes, so the overhead is very, very low. And we do accomplish what we do for all of these kids through our volunteers. And I think that in of itself speaks volumes to the importance of what we do and to the desire for people to participate.
Absolutely. And so you have a calendar. People can go to your website and find the activities that are available. What would a family, let's talk about both things. What would a family need to do if they're interested in enrolling their child? And what would a volunteer need to do if they're interested in volunteering?
Well, everything that we do is run through our website, and that is at keengreaterdc.org. And on the website, you can sign up to bring your child to a program, and all of the programs are listed there. You can also sign up to register to volunteer. And when someone comes to a session, we always train them for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes first, so they know exactly what to expect. They'll actually get a profile of the individual that they'll be connecting with that day and paired up with. So we might give you a profile that says, Johnny is a runner, which means you need to really keep a close eye on Johnny so that he doesn't head out the gym door when you're on the other end trying to make a basket.
Right.
Or you might get a profile that says the child that you're paired up with is nonverbal. And then you need to know that you need to talk with that individual, but you may not be getting anything back, but be cognizant of the fact that they're still hearing you. And that's one of the things that we say when our volunteers come and they get trained is talk to all of our athletes as people, not down to them, not at them, but with them, regardless of whether or not you're going to get something in return, because they do understand. And they're just kids.
You know, and I think a lot of people have a hard time, at least initially, in understanding how to communicate with people who are nonverbal.
Right.
But, you know, working with Rashna Heiser, who's been on the show before, and her son is nonverbal, although he's acquiring greater skills. But she was saying when he was in PE, you know, his teachers made assumptions about what he could or could not do because he was nonverbal. And the fact of the matter is he just watched what the other kids did.
Right.
And he did what they did. And he did what they did just fine.
Exactly.
But the assumptions that are made about not being able to communicate or not getting something back from your instructions, I think takes some adaptation.
Right, but you know what, it happens very quickly. Kids are very adaptable, and our volunteers really understand that often all it takes is to put a hand on a kid's shoulder or to take someone's hand and say, hey, come with me. And so really what we're talking about is just giving love when you're there, and unconditional support and acceptance, and the rest actually takes care of itself.
No, I absolutely believe you. And finding out about this program was just amazing for me, how you've been out there all this time without my knowing it, because like I said, I work with other organizations in the disability community. So how do you reach out and try to find the families? I mean, do you have certain avenues or certain organizations or schools, or, you know, how do you do that outreach?
We do reach out through the school systems, both public and private and independent schools, and through the chambers of commerce, and through organizations, corporations, and so, but you're right, and it's important that we get the word out, and this program is so important, and thank you so much for having us so that we can do that. There used to be a wait list for our programs because we had so many kids who wanted to come, and we've been able to increase our programming based on our donors and our sponsors, so we're really excited. We're able to be serving, like I said earlier, 500 kids, and we hope to continue to grow and be able to serve more kids because there are more kids out there than are participating today, and we would like them all to know we're here for you and come be a part of our really great organization.
So what is the age range for the kids who participate, as far as the youngest to the older kids?
So we like to say that no child is turned away. And historically, we've served kids 5 to 25. But I mentioned that we are a 26-year-old organization, and a number of the kids started with us when we started. And so we're certainly not going to say, you're 25, I'm sorry you can't come to our programs anymore.
I think that's wonderful.
No one ages out, which is, also we're not supposed to say that. It's not a secret, but we're not telling you go home. You stay and you play, and we'll be with you for as long as you need. And so one of the challenges as an organization that we have is growing with our growing population.
Right.
And so we do have a number of programs, one which I personally volunteer at called KEENFest, where we are actually being one-on-one strength training coaches or workout coaches for athletes that are 20 and up, and meeting them at a gym and actually taking a Keen athlete through a workout. And it's really fun, and we end that hour with either a Zumba class or a yoga stretch and warm up, and so any age really, but 5 to 25, but if you're 27 and you're still with us, God bless you.
Well, and I think you point out something important about keeping up physical strength, health, and wellness. So at Cameron's Coffee and Chocolates, where they have 20 young people who are participants in their jobs program, she sends them up to George Mason to work out. And one of the things that she says is you're standing on your feet all day and making chocolates and muffins or whatever that the kids are doing. But she said it takes a lot of stamina to do that, and that she encourages those 20 program participants to stay fit through exercise.
Right.
And so she sends them to the Mason campus to do that. But it sounds like you've got this very same idea that it's a lifelong, helping young people to grow into people who focus on fitness as part of their health and wellness.
Absolutely, because if you get your body moving, you get your mind moving. And so it's that's really what Keen is all about, providing one-on-one, non-competitive exercise programs for kids.
And that is, I want to hear more about that. When we come back, we are going to be talking with Barbara Guterman about KEENFest, which is their big annual event that's coming up, and something that you can also be a part of. So join us after the break.
Hi.
Hi. Patience. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we are talking with Barbara Guterman, who is a board member for KEEN. She is also the chair of KEENFest, which is coming up on November 3rd. So Barbara, tell us a little bit about this big annual fundraiser that is one of the marquee events of your fundraising year-round.
Absolutely, Catherine. KEENFest is our annual gala. This is our 26th year, and it's going to be the biggest and best ever. This year, we're actually featuring our athletes, our participants in the program, and the theme is Keen's Got Talent. And so, when you think about an individual or a young person with a differing ability, you might not think about their talents. And we want to show you how talented they are. And we have people that are being in a fashion show, we have individuals that are singing, and we have a beautiful dance performance that's going to be going on. And we're going to be seeing all kinds of talent at our Keen's Got Talent Gala.
That's great that you actually involve the people that you serve in your fundraising. That's just a marvelous way of bringing your funders and donors. A lot of time, funders and donors don't always come face to face with the people an organization serves.
Right. Well, it's so important that we allow people to see what Keen does. And these are our kids. These are our young people. And this is what their passions are. And oftentimes, we don't allow them to explore what their passions are because many people in today's world don't get past the disability. So we're not focused on that at all. We're focused on all the extraordinary things that these young people can do. So it's actually at November 3rd at the Capitol Hilton, and we're so excited to be able to showcase all of these kids' talents.
It sounds like it is a huge event. So do the kids get a little nervous being in front of such a huge room of people?
There are no nerves at all. They cannot wait to get out there and strut their stuff. Absolutely no nerves at all. And it is a big event. This year we're expecting over 400 people. We are so grateful every year to have Total Wine & More as our sponsor and Marriott Corporation as a keynote sponsor always. And so we're grateful for their ability to help us underwrite the event. But we certainly would love to have more donors and sponsors, and we invite the general public to come as well. Come check us out and see all the wonderful things we're doing and be a part of the Keen Gala, the Keen family. And the way to do that is to go on our website at keengreaterdc.org, where you can sponsor, you can purchase tickets, you can come see what we're all about.
So one of the things that's interesting I noticed on your website is the fact that you have an online, well, you have auction items, but you're doing it online. So people who actually get tickets right now can actually start bidding right now on those auction items using a mobile app.
Right, we do mobile bidding for our auction. We moved to mobile bidding about 4 years ago, had to move into the new era of technology. And we will have all of our auction items online and available if an individual is not able to come and be with us that night, but still wants to participate and see if they can donate or sponsor.
Listen, I have checked out some of those items. That you've got great donors. Whoever is donating some of these things, they're quite amazing. I'm like, ooh, look at this. I mean, I have to say, you must have, after 26 years, a core group of people who have been with you, continue to be with you, and on whom you can rely, at least for the core of your program. I'm assuming, especially in this area, that you want to expand and scale what you're doing because there's so many children who don't have access to exercise.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we've opened new programs in Virginia over the last year. That was our mission from our 25th anniversary. So over the last year, we've opened Zumba programs in Arlington and in Vienna. And we have this wonderful bowling program in Falls Church, which is actually run by the incoming president of Keen. So not only are we board members, but we actually get out there and volunteer ourselves. And she loves being in charge of the bowling program in Falls Church. So there is something for everyone to do, whether you like to swim, whether you like to bowl, whether you like to dance, whether you like to play at the gym. There are programs that just run the gamut.
So if you had a magic wand and you could do whatever you wanted to, would it be to look for partners? Like you said, you have a Zumba program in Arlington, a bowling program in Falls Church. If you wanted to expand, let's say, further into Northern Virginia, could that be accomplished if you could find local partners who were willing to both financially fund it, but also help to get volunteers to run those programs?
That's a great question. And one of the things that we're looking at doing is always expanding. And when we expand into a new area or a new region, we need facilities. We need maybe a gym location or a large building like a community center where we can hold our programs. And it is in partnership with companies and sponsors where we get those opportunities. We also are looking at opening new programs in the Baltimore area. And also in Annapolis. And one other way that we can do that is by partnering with schools and the school system to use their facilities, and independent schools who open up their gyms and their programs as well.
You know, that's an interesting concept. I'm always talking about community schools here, and interestingly enough, they have community schools in Baltimore. We don't have them in Virginia, although there's 2 pilot programs here in Northern Virginia in the Mount Vernon area. In Mount Vernon, Mount Vernon Woods Elementary School and Walt Whitman Middle School. And it really is providing sort of wraparound services through community partnerships right there at the school.
Right.
And so this is one of the things that, like I said, Baltimore already has this model, but Virginia does not. But the program you're talking about is a perfect fit for school systems that would like to provide extracurricular activities for students with special needs, but don't necessarily have a partner to do that, or funding to do that, or resources to do that.
Well, let me give you an excellent example. There is a phenomenal school in Potomac called the Bullis School. And the Bullis School saw the importance of inclusion many years ago and brought Keen in to the school as a partner, formed a Keen Club. There are 25 kids, if not more, every year who have to interview to become part of this club. And it's these Bullis students that become partners with our Keen athletes. And over the course of the year, they do programming every other weekend. They go on field trips, they play in the gym, they organize activities. And out of that partnership grew a special needs prom that Keen and Bullis do together. We are now heading into our 4th year of this incredible evening, this special needs prom. And the thinking behind it was that why couldn't an individual with special needs go to a prom and be a part and have a bouquet and a boutonniere and a fancy dress and all the things that a typical child might be able to enjoy. And the Bullis School was behind that, and their students organized it, launched it. We're in our 4th year, and we're so excited about what this means for our kids. It's a night they will never forget.
Oh, I so agree with that. And again, to be with your peer group, to enjoy things with your own community of peers. And I think that's important too. As you said, people need connection, and connection is about finding your community, people that you interact with and feel comfortable with, because these are your people.
That's right.
And so is this something where you could create a model that could be adopted? So I'm just thinking about schools around here, high schools that could start a Keen Club.
Yes.
And you have somebody who comes in and says, well, this is sort of the kid in a box that
Yes.
says this is how you do it.
We have the model. I'm happy to, any
Schools in
introductions
this
you
area,
want
yeah.
to make, I'm happy to go talk about the model and talk about how we can roll it out. We're doing that, as I mentioned, in Baltimore and in Annapolis as well. And Bullis is an excellent example of what to do. And not only do they have a special needs prom, but every year we have a 5K, which is about kids helping kids and about Bullis giving back. And we have a buddy run. And we have normally 100 to 200 special needs kids come. They get paired up with a Bullis student. They do an extraordinary morning of laps around the track, and then some of them run the 5K together and stay and play later at a festival. And again, it's about just being part of a community and understanding that we're not putting obstacles in their way. We're including them in everything that we do in our own lives.
I think that's incredible. I can see how this could be, with the right partner or the right group of students or the right corporate sponsor, a way that you could exponentially scale what you're doing. And I think it is incredibly important, because I think, again, it's the social isolation, the fact that people who have mobility issues as well as perhaps other kinds of disabilities are not encouraged to move their bodies or to look at physical fitness is something that helps them, their overall wellness. And to me, the message of what you're doing is so much of that, and you hope that these young people will carry this through with them for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. So again, important to remember, it's free. Keen is a free service to any individual who wants to be part of our program. We offer respite care to the parents and caregivers, often a difficult job. And totally volunteer-based. Come out and join us and volunteer and make some friends.
Well, tell us a little bit too about your other events around the year. I think you've got a golf tournament.
Yes. So if you are not a gala goer,
not a gala goer,
if you're not a gala goer, we have an extraordinary golf tournament which sells out every year. It happens at Woodmont Country Club in Rockville. And so we would love to have additional corporate sponsors for our golf tournament, but you have to get in there early because, like I said, it sells out. And those really are our primary events, the gala and the golf tournament. But there are other little activities throughout the year where we do host parties and kind of like parlor meetings where we can introduce KEEN to the community in different ways.
And I'm sure you would be open to third-party fundraisers where organizations can hold a fundraiser that benefits KEEN.
Oh, no question.
I sit on a number of boards myself, and we are so appreciative when a company or somebody does a happy hour or some event and they're like, the recipient of this is a particular organization. It seems to me if more people know about KEEN, that you will have more people saying, perhaps we should do a fundraiser of our own to benefit KEEN.
Absolutely. And what we find when we meet new corporations and go into different companies to talk about who we are and what we do, we end up getting their employees as volunteers, and that's really the way that it starts. And then once an employee is a volunteer, a few others volunteer, and what we find is down the road we have corporate partnerships that build and build and build.
And what's remarkable to me as well is that, you know, what started here in the Washington, D.C. area 26 years ago, there are now KEEN organizations all over the United States.
There are, and we're happy to say that KEEN Greater DC is the largest. And that's because we have the most experience and we started here, but it just takes someone who is willing to lead and take the charge of understanding how important it is to bring this kind of a mission into their community.
I think, you know, and I agree with you, and I think people just have not considered the fact that people with physical disabilities need an opportunity to be physical. That's just not something we think about, and yet I love, like I said, the photographs. It doesn't matter how mobile or immobile you are. Being with your community feeds your soul, and it feeds your spirit as well as feeding your body.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to join me today,
Thank
Barbara.
you.
Thank you for coming in. I encourage everybody to find out more about KEEN. You can go online to their website. Their gala is coming up on November 3rd. And think to yourself, how in the world can I get my company, my community, or my school involved in this? And that's what you need to know.